A man stuck in traffic, but all of a sudden he's right in the middle of a shootout. Guns in the open, shots fired. Our Charlie DeMar tracked down the driver with one wild story. In May, CBS 2 investigators reported on decades of abuse and the failure by those in power to stop it all the way up to the college level. Now, CBS 2 investigator Dave Savini has tracked down and questioned the coach. You may not need a COVID-19 booster shot anytime soon. Certain vaccines appear to provide years of protection. He hated his workplace and carried around books about terrorism. Those are some of the new details we're learning about the gunman who killed 9 people at a Northern California rail yard. Chicago police continue the search for a man wanted for the deadly stabbing of a PhD student, but now he's suspected in 2 more attacks on women in the Loop. When it comes to carjacking, Chicago police are busy. From Beverly to Old Town, thieves are striking fast and furiously. Numbers are on the rise. They've done it again. This surveillance image of Chicago police raiding a family's home might have gone under the radar, except for one detail: when it was taken. Right now, rough riding on the L tonight. A Purple Line train derailed near Bryn Mawr, causing delays. Look closely at the wheel there. You can see it's off the tracks. Rescue crews pulled 3 bodies from the wreckage overnight, bringing the death toll to 4. Nearly 160 people are still missing. As CBS 2's Laura Podesta reports, searchers are up against 3 major hurdles: rain, darkness, and time. New at 10 and only on CBS 2, take a look at this. A bullet hole in the driver's side door of a car just below the mirror. The Chicago Blackhawks have hired an independent investigator to review allegations that then video coach Brad Aldridge sexually assaulted 2 players on the 2010 Stanley Cup winning team. It's been a political firestorm touching a nerve across the country. As Mayor Lori Lightfoot hits the 2-year mark, she said she would only offer the customary one-on-one interviews to Black and brown journalists. One of those bullets narrowly missed a Northwest suburban man. He spoke exclusively to CBS 2 political investigator Dana Kozloff about what saved his life. About 43% of Chicago's population is fully vaccinated. We're happy about that, but we still have quite a ways to go in terms of getting the vaccine in more arms. What are you hearing is still holding people back? At least the weight, the pressure was off of them a bit, Matt.
Yeah, they all said they would have pitched the same either way, but I think it helped to not have the pressure.
Thank you, Matt. In the Loop, on alert as police try to track down a man wanted in 3 violent attacks, one ending in the death of a doctoral student. CBS 2's Brandon Morano is live from South Franklin in the Loop, where one of the attacks happened. Brandon. Renters who can't pay their landlords won't have to worry about being evicted from their homes for another month. The eviction moratorium has been extended until July 31st. This is meant to be the final extension, though, because of COVID-19. The CDC said keeping people in their homes and out of homeless shelters or crowded living spaces with multiple families will help stop the spread of the coronavirus. In May, CBS 2 investigators reported on decades of abuse and the failure by those in power to stop it all the way up to the college level. Now, CBS 2 investigator Dave Savini has tracked down and questioned the coach. Since we first reported on the coach, a lawsuit has been filed and more accusers have come forward. One is a former Stanley Cup winning NHL player. We will share his story tonight at 10. Head to CBSChicago.com for responses from the various organizations and more of Dave's reporting on this coach. You can scan the QR code on your screen with your camera app and get right to the CBS 2 investigators page. And here's one thing you can do to start off your summer. Go searching for these. They're called fairy houses. 20 are popping up tomorrow in nature areas across Chicago. This one is in Humboldt Park. They're handcrafted by the same people who keep our trails and nature preserves looking beautiful. We turn now to where the evening news left off. Breaking developments from the scene of this condo collapse in South Florida. We know that 1 person is dead and 99 people are still unaccounted for. Surveillance camera capturing the moment the collapse happened. You can see the middle section of the building just crumble into a cloud of dust. 9 seconds later, the section to the right sways, then falls. 55 units gone in a matter of seconds.
I don't want to be pessimistic, but we've been calling them like nonstop.
Early this morning, firefighters rescued 35 people from the building, including this 10-year-old boy trapped in the rubble. A witness says he heard the boy yelling, then saw his hand sticking through the debris. The brazen shooting casting a gray cloud over the Humboldt Park neighborhood. Some saying the festivities led to a spike in violence. Always investigating, CBS 2's Stephen Graves is looking into if that is true. At last check, police were still looking for many suspects involved in last weekend's shootings, including the murders of those two young parents. But as CBS 2's Lauren Victory found out, there's so much more to their stories. Aren't they just incredible? Multi-talented Breon is planning to run track and compete on the speech team at Duke. As for Naya, she is majoring in biomedical engineering at Stanford while also studying communications. We begin with the deadly condo collapse in South Florida. Search and rescue teams are working through the night, sifting through the rubble for signs of life. Here's what we know now. 99 people still unaccounted for, some of whom may not have been in the building, according to officials. The death toll stands at 11 injured. Florida's governor has declared a state of emergency. That opens the door for federal aid. New tonight, another man from Illinois charged in the January 6th riot at the U.S. Capitol. The FBI providing these photos. They accuse Shane Jason Woods of attacking a Capitol police officer, tripping her, and tackling a TV cameraman on the steps of the Capitol building. Woods, who is from downstate Auburn, is facing at least 8 charges, including assault on a law enforcement officer and disorderly conduct in a restricted building. After Wednesday's city council meeting went off the rails, it starts up again tomorrow afternoon. Aldermen are expected to vote on the renaming of Lakeshore Drive to DeSauble Drive.
On Friday.
So they are on his radar.
A little bit, yes.
A little bit. Thank you, Matt. Breaking right now, an 18-year-old man is charged with killing a rideshare driver in March. Federal prosecutors believe Edmund Harris carjacked a Lexus in Lawndale, shooting the driver, Javier Ramos, in the process. Harris was arrested today. Good afternoon. I'm Irika Sargent. We are also following a real-time weather alert. A live look outside now where more rain is on the way. Let's get right to meteorologist Mary Kay Kleist, who's keeping an eye on the flooding threat. Today's city council is once again supposed to decide if Lakeshore Drive will get a name change. The measure was scheduled to come up on Wednesday, but the meeting was unexpectedly adjourned. CBS 2's Dana Kosloff is live outside City Hall to explain what's happening now, Dana. At least 3 people missing have connections to Chicago. CBS 2 investigator Megan Hickey has been talking to friends and loved ones. Megan, they are not ready to give up hope. 22 and a half years. That's how long Derek Chauvin will spend in prison for the murder of George Floyd. Crowds anxiously waited outside the Minneapolis courthouse for the sentencing. Inside, Chauvin, who did not take the stand during his trial, did speak today. He gave his condolences to the Floyd family and said there will be information in the future that will give them peace of mind. Under Minnesota statute, Chauvin was sentenced only for the most serious charge of second-degree murder. He will be 67 when he is released from prison. 6 o'clock, hour 18. We've been investigating the failures of the Illinois unemployment system for more than a year. Tonight, we can tell you exactly how bad the agency is, and it's about as bad as it gets. Chicagoans missing in that Florida condo collapse and why those who know them refuse to give up hope. We start this hour 18 with breaking news. The name Lakeshore Drive is officially changing. City Council approving the name change just about 40 minutes ago. Let's get right to CBS 2 political investigator Dana Kosloff live at City Hall. Dana, the vote comes after some tension between the aldermen and the mayor. After that Wednesday meeting, 22 aldermen sent the mayor a letter asking her to follow council rules and procedures moving forward, claiming she's broken them in the past. Did that accusation come up again today? A real-time weather alert, a live look over the city this Friday afternoon. Waves of rain leading to flooding concerns in some neighborhoods. Meteorologist Mary Kay Kleist is here. And Mary Kay, this is something we're going to be dealing with for the next week. Breaking tonight, an arrest in the murder of a rideshare driver shot to death by a passenger during a carjacking. CBS 2's Brandon Morano joins us live. Brandon, police believe the same man is behind other carjackings. Now to the deadly condo collapse in Surfside, Florida. We are coming up on 48 hours since the disaster. Tonight, only 4 bodies have been found. The agonizing search for survivors continues as 159 people remain unaccounted for. Crews are using dogs and microphones, hoping for any sign of life in the rubble.
I think I'm trying to brace myself for the worst and the best.
It could be months before we know what caused the collapse. Meantime, the first civil lawsuit has been filed. We've learned a child has died after being shot at this home in the west suburbs. It happened this afternoon in Burbank near 83rd and Laramie. The child was pronounced dead at Christ Hospital in Oak Lawn. Burbank police are not saying what happened or if this was an accident, but they did offer condolences to the child's family. Airline tickets, AirPods, massage therapy. Those are just some of the gifts one woman gave to her spiritual caregiver before passing away. But the woman's nephew later found out his aunt also left that caregiver $500,000 in her will. He's claiming it's a case of elder financial abuse. Lauren Victory looks into the dispute that's now headed for court. Right now, at least 4 people taken to the hospital after a Southwest plane from Chicago to Salt Lake City, Utah, encountered serious turbulence. That plane landing in Salt Lake around 2:30 this afternoon. We're told 3 flight attendants, along with the passenger, suffered minor injuries. Now to a story about a survivor and some strangers. Dylan Provenzano just finished his 15th and final round of chemo this week. So his family put up a sign in front of their house in Barrington. People are driving by, honking their horns, even dropping off notes, cards, and flowers. Dylan's 16. He's fought off bone cancer twice and doesn't mind celebrating with strangers.
Really random people actually just like supporting me just throughout this. It's really fun. It's really cool.
Now here's how Dylan's week ended. He hit a 3-run homer today for his team, the Homestead Ranchers. Well, back to full capacity for White Sox fans, but it was a Southside letdown early on Friday night. A walk to the corner. That's how easy it is for children in Chicago to get a gun. The state now has one of the highest number of guns recovered from kids in the country. And that quick access, sadly a way of life on a side of town most forget, the West Side. I wanted to hear their stories from them, and what these children tell me even stunned police.
We have a person calling for help.
In America's 3rd largest city, the police scanners barely rest.
We have a battery in progress.
They're heard all across Chicago.
The ambulance is passing Austin now.
So put your arm through there.
But riding with Cook County Sheriff's Police, we see some neighborhoods
This area is a high crime area.
notoriously face more challenges than others.
And heavy gang activity.
And heavy gang activity. Yes. We've arrested a number of people just on that corner. It looks like a drug deal just went down behind us.
We got a person with a gun,
Chicago's West Side, where we found many kids are wiser than their years in some of the most dangerous ways.
All it takes is one phone call. And you can find it off the streets, or people will sell them to you.
It's so easy, they're getting their hands on them before getting out of high school.
How old were you when you held a gun for the first time?
I was 15 years old.
Or even elementary school.
I was 4 years old.
You can find a gun anywhere in our neighborhood.
It took months to find kids willing to talk to us. Some families were afraid of retaliation on their blocks. But as we spent time with them,
Then they just start shooting.
the kids opened up about their access to guns. We concealed their identities for their safety. Others, now young adults, want to show their faces. All of them putting a voice to an epidemic now in this state, especially in Chicago.
I always felt that urge, like I want to be around guns.
CBS 2 analyzed new data from ATF. It reveals in 2018, Illinois had one of the highest numbers of firearms recovered from children, nearly 600. Special agent in charge, Tim Jones.
A very serious issue, and we can see that in the numbers.
Illinois consistently ranks among the top 5 states in the country every year for the last 6 years. And the number of guns recovered from kids has gone up nearly 50% in that time. We'll call this 16-year-old girl Danielle.
So at what point did you feel like you wanted a gun?
When I lose people.
Danielle says at least 10 of her family members and friends have been shot and killed. The most recent casualty, her ex-boyfriend, just days before this interview.
It's not going to stop.
And that's made her want to protect herself with a gun. So how did she get one?
Friends.
Devontae Williams is now 20. He admits he used to be a drug dealer and carried a gun at 16.
Have you ever shot a gun?
Yeah, I have. I had shot on the street before.
He says often a kid can just walk a couple blocks on the west side and find a gun for free, stashed by someone else.
An alley right on 50th the Ridgeway. We had found it. We was walking.
We instantly just looking around on the ground, and it was behind a garbage can, behind a wheel.
It was that easy.
Yeah.
Is that something that you're familiar with?
It's surprising to hear that the kids know about that.
Immersed in the streets, Devontae's also been on the other end of a gun, shot at 16 by a boy the same age.
Do you remember thinking, like, this is it?
I thought I was gonna die, because there was so much blood on the ground, and it just kept on bleeding out.
Henry, 16, held his first gun at 10. It came from a cousin, and he says getting one from an adult is just as easy.
Yeah, hand you guns and just keep you on the streets with it, make sure you're safe.
Special Agent Jones says he's seen adult gang members who don't want to get caught with guns exploit kids by handing the weapons off to them.
If a juvenile gets caught with a firearm, the likelihood of them being severely punished is rather low.
Jones says federal law doesn't allow many ways to prosecute kids with guns. It falls on local law enforcement, like Chicago police and prosecutors. And because of the high rate of gun violence on the west side, the Cook County Sheriff's Police, with Lieutenant Arthur Jackson, have come in to help CPD, setting up a command post in the heart of Austin.
They've had shootings up and down throughout these neighborhoods.
But even when local police arrest a kid with a gun, state laws often let them off with little punishment. They could be back on the streets in hours. So now, Representative Anthony DeLuca of South Suburban Chicago Heights is pushing a state bill to stop kids from getting off with just probation when they're caught with a gun more than once. Back on the west side, Lieutenant Jackson says sheriff's officers aren't relying only on the law to stop the violence.
Our goal really is to try to reach them early before they even get to that point.
With police mentoring programs in west side schools.
This corner is like the center of violence in North Lawndale. Over there across the street is called the Holy City because that's the birthplace of the Vice Lords. And to your right, going west, that is called Cape Town.
Derek Brown is a former Vice Lords gang chief.
I was shooting at people, I was getting shot.
He also focuses on mentoring, sharing his troubled past with kids and showing them a better way.
Showing them a sense of family.
Brown works closely with Reverend Robin Hood, who counsels kids and helps them find jobs.
They had easy access to guns, then a bus pass to go to school or work.
They don't believe locking kids up solves the problem, especially when the opinions and laws come from people who don't live in these neighborhoods or know the kids like they do.
That child should be directed to the right program so he or she can get reprogrammed so they wouldn't have the sense of they want to hurt someone.
If I could stop one from shooting and killing somebody, if I can just save one, I will be happy.
Brown and Hood say they've already exceeded that goal, changing the behavior of several kids. Remember Devontae? He says it's starting to work for him.
I just started being here a little bit more often, because some days I miss him. Then I was just like, man, I just missed me a day. I could have learned something.
But with streets like these, where guns are so easy for kids to come by, there's no denying the answers are complex. And voices like this remain.
And I picked up a gun.
I've held a gun, but yeah, plenty of times.
All right, I need a unit to follow that ambulance.
Now, these kids were just some of the voices in Austin, North Lawndale. There are certainly more in other West Side neighborhoods like Little Village. As for the bill, Representative DeLuca couldn't get it passed in the fall session that just ended. He faces stiff opposition from Black Caucus members and community leaders, but he plans to push for hearings on that bill next year. Good evening. I'm Irika Sargent.
And I'm Rob Johnson. Sex assaults on college campuses. CBS 2 discovers the real numbers. We created a database comparing state and federal reports.
And it reveals what some schools are not reporting publicly, a greater number of assaults. Now what's really going on and what survivors are saying.
I want to feel safe on my own campus.
They want you to see their faces.
I'm terrified.
Know their names.
I was so scared.
Young. Ambitious, but their lives already ripped apart.
I still have nights where I can't sleep.
Thousands of students from Chicago and across the state head to Southern Illinois University Edwardsville, ready for independence. Bailey Reed wanted it too.
As soon as I walked onto the campus, I fell in love with it.
Her senior year changed that. In 2017, Bailey says a classmate wanted help with the paper and came to her dorm.
I went to sit on my bed and he pulled me on top of him and I tried to pull away.
She says he kissed her, then shoved her.
That still was probably one of the scariest moments that I've had. He was like, you know, did I tell you you could move? And then he just kind of flipped me over and he pinned me down.
Bailey says he raped her. She went to the hospital, filed a criminal report with police. But here's where her faith in her school began to unravel. She says someone from SIUE's Office of Equal Opportunity came to see her and tried to discourage her from filing an official school complaint. But Bailey insisted.
And they said that they would move forward in doing that for me, and they never did.
They never put those charges in, that complaint?
No.
Bailey says only after her mother kept calling SIUE did they accept her complaint and investigate. She says it got worse when SIUE let the man go to class but told her to watch online. A judge granted her a permanent order of protection. Police arrested the man for violating it. But Bailey says the school did nothing to discipline him.
Even with him being arrested, were you still afraid?
Yes. He's very big.
The SIUE investigator found in the man's favor. Bailey appealed and a panel sided with her. But the chancellor overruled it. Then Bailey found out that just 2 months before her alleged attack, the Department of Education declared SIUE had a pattern of failing to investigate claims of sex assault, excluding evidence, and not properly training their employees. Now she worries SIUE is concealing the number of sex assaults.
You filed a lawsuit.
I did.
You got an attorney.
I did.
Federal law under the Clery Act makes schools publicly post the number of sex violence reports. We found them here on SIUE's website. For 2017, Bailey's school shows 7. But we found a different report with 26 complaints for that same year. SIUE doesn't show this to the public on their website.
Students who are looking at prospective colleges should be able to know what they're getting themselves into.
We got the private numbers for 2016 and 2017 straight from the Illinois Attorney General, but only after sending a written request and waiting for the data nearly 6 months. In 2015, the state created a law that makes colleges send the AG the number of sex violence reports each year. But this law doesn't make schools reveal the numbers to the public. So many don't. So those SIUE numbers to the AG are more than triple what parents and students see.
That's a huge difference. How do you reconcile that?
Only the on-campus incidents are included in the Clery numbers, and that's a clear directive under the Clery Act.
SIUE's Jamie Ball explains the higher AG numbers this way. They are broader because they can come from current students anywhere and anytime. We also found drastic differences in other schools across the state, including many around Chicago. For 2016, DePaul publicly reports 23 cases of sex violence, but 72 to the AG. For 2017, 20 in the public report, 60 to the AG. Irika College lists 0 in their public report for both years, but double-digit numbers in their AG report. At Northwestern,
I need them to do better.
For 2016, the school shows 16 in their federal report, but to the AG, it nearly doubles to 30, with a similar jump in 2017. That's when Pragya Chandra says she was attacked by a fellow student at Northwestern. She says he came to her dorm after a party.
He started touching me and trying to kiss me.
She couldn't move out of his reach, falling in and out of consciousness.
I remember turning my head away from him, telling him I'm too drunk, and he never stopped.
She filed a report. The school investigated and found the man responsible for sex assault. But he didn't get expelled. He was suspended for 1 year. Pragya panics at the thought of seeing him again.
But I don't think it's fair that he gets to come back here.
Spencer Colton says he was assaulted at Northwestern the same year.
I kept trying to push him off of me, and he kept coming back. He was kind of on top of me in the bed.
He reached out to the campus center called CARE that helps survivors, but says they didn't have enough workers.
I give her a bunch of times that I'm available in the next week, and she says, I'm sorry, I'm not available at any of those times.
Spencer says he got discouraged and didn't report his alleged attack for more than a year. 2 survivors who feel Northwestern set up roadblocks to their recovery. They also worry about the school's willingness to allow the public to see sex violence reports. Northwestern does post the AG report on their website, but makes it pretty difficult to find. You have to navigate through several links to get it.
they should be straightforward and you shouldn't have to play guessing games.
Over at DePaul, it appears you need a password to access their AG report. Loyola stands alongside SIUE with no trace of the AG report on either website.
If you don't have anything to hide, why not just make the decision now to make it available to the public?
It's not something that we've actively said we are not going to disclose it. I think that we just haven't gotten to the place where we've found a functional way of making that information available so that students can access it.
But Illinois State University has. They're one of the few schools to make their AG numbers public and put it in their crime report with the federal numbers.
We're not trying to hide statistics here. We try to provide as much information so that hopefully they can make a better informed decision.
Bailey wants the law to require every school publicly reveal the numbers given to the AG because she says her experience shows many won't do the right thing on their own.